What's going on, everybody? Football Sunday, baby! Let's go! What are we doing, chat? Let's hear it. Get up! Let's go! Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, we're loving Sunday, week 6 edition of the Circa Million Show. What's going on in the chat? Curtis, I see you, buddy. NHL Saturday was good. Let's go. What are we doing here, folks? What are we cooking today? I want to see picks. I want to see leans. I want to see questions, too. I'm going to be bringing my picks here in a second. Let's get the music down. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is the Circa Millions contest. I am running solo because the boys have oblos on this wonderful, beautiful Sunday. So I'm going to bring the plays. I'm going to bring the picks. And let's get this started off right here. Let me pull up my sheet. Should have done that before. My fault. And we are ready to go. But I want to start this off with a 2-unit play. And I'm going to do this. This game is going to be at 4:25 in Arrowhead Stadium. And it's the Kansas City Chiefs playing a big matchup versus the perennial Super Bowl favorite, the Buffalo Bills. Now, you look at Buffalo, they're coming off a dominating win, 38-3 versus Pitt with a plus 188 net yard average for the game. Now, Kansas City coming off a close divisional game versus the Raiders, 30-29, winning that game, but yet they lost the net yardage battle in that game. So minus 10 net yards. And basically with Kansas City, the way I look at them is they're a flat home team and a great road team. But if you look at them statistically at home versus the road, they average 407 yards per game of offense on the road with a 10 plus 10 point differential and plus 101 net yards. That's on the road. But at home, it's a different story. They average 344 yards of total offense with a plus 2 point differential, minus 46 net yards. So this team is absolutely flat when they play at home. Now you got to look at Buffalo. They passed for 290 yards or more in 4 out of their last 5 games. And you actually look at the KC defense, they do struggle against the pass, especially defending it. 69.3 pass completion rate to their opponents overall this season. And then if you go and look at the versus good passing teams like the LA Chargers, 326 yards given up in that game, 373 yards given up when they win against Tampa. Now, all that being said, I think Buffalo is also in a revenge spot in this situation. Divisional game last year, lost in the divisional round in overtime, 42-36 in Arrowhead as 2-point dogs. Now they're sitting here at 2.5, 3-point favorites here on the road. This screams to me that we have to be taking Buffalo on this side here, the away favorite. Their offensive strength predicates into what KC doesn't do well, is defending the pass. It's a revenge game. In an underperforming home team, they are 0-2 against the spread at home this season, and they're off a short week because they played on Monday Night Football. This is a perfect spot. Give me Buffalo minus 2.5, 2-unit play. All right, let's get to our next 2-unit play. We're just going to give you the big boys right now. Now let's look at another divisional game, another high-profile primetime game, and we're talking about the NFC least, no more. This is a very strong conference. Want to say what's up, Joel? I see you, buddy. Early games, give me Jones and Dillon. Let's go. All right, let's talk about this game right here. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Dallas Cowboys are just running red freaking hot right now. They are off a big road win against the LA Rams, 22-10, but they lost the net yardage battle, minus 84 net yards for the game. What was the difference in the game? Turnovers. They were plus 3 turnover ratio for that game. Deciding factor there. Now you got Philly off a flat road win. Maybe looking ahead to this divisional matchup, 20-17 with minus 6 net yards. Not their best performance, but that's okay because we like Philly at home better than we do on the road. Philly has been dominating at home. They average 444 yards of total offense, only giving up 242 in the process, plus 202 net yard average. Granted, they've only played 2 games at home this season, so take that with a grain of salt. But I still think Philly will show up big here, and I'm going to get into a few other points here. Dallas on the road, 315 yards of total offense, giving up 330 yards per game, minus 15 net yards. That is a telling story when they're on the road. And then you get the old double revenge here because Philly lost to them twice last season in 2021. Lost 41-21 on the road as 3.5-point dogs and 51-26 at home as 4-point dogs. 2 blackout, blowout games from Dallas. Now you get them at home as a 6.5, -6. This screams to me that we have to be taking Philly. Home team is also 5-1 straight up and against the spread in this matchup in the last 6 meetings. Favorite is 10-3 against the spread in the last 13. If you want to look at some trends. With all that being said, we're looking a little bit too far ahead, but I like this primetime spot, and it is a 2-unit play for me. Give me Philadelphia, Eagles, Eagles, -6, -6.5 as the play. All right, moving on. Now we got a little bit of 1 o'clock slate here. Let's go into the Green Bay Packers coming back home from dreary old London to play what is a little bit of a heater for the New York Football Jets. So, like I said, Green Bay coming off a loss in London, 27-22 to the New York Giants, while only putting up 301 yards of total offense, which is their worst production all season long, minus 37 net yards for the game. So, really, essentially, you look at the numbers, they were supposed to lose this game. Or that game for that matter. Now look at the Jets here. They're coming off a big home divisional win over Miami, 40-17. But you got to look at the situation for Miami in that game. They were on their third backup. They were playing Skylar Thompson, rookie, hadn't played a snap in his life in the NFL. And Teddy Bridgewater went out in the first quarter. So it kind of made the game dynamic kind of change for the Miami offense and the team altogether. Now look at Green Bay has performed at home this season. Plus 107 net yard average. Their defense has held their opponents to 279 yards of total offense at home. But you have to understand who they've played. They played my Patriots there, and they played the Chicago Bears. So take that stat with a little bit of a grain of salt. But also, this is an interesting fact here. This will be New York Jets' first game versus a NFC opponent this season. They've played all AFC opponents so far. And it's Green Bay coming off a loss. And when Green Bay comes off a loss, you need to tail them the next week. In the last 15 outcomes, 12-3 against the spread off a straight-up loss. I think what's going to happen here is you're going to have a Green Bay team coming out with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, feeling like they haven't played well, probably in the last 2 weeks for that matter. I don't think they played well against the Patriots at all. And also laying an egg in London. I think you're going to have a really mad, really aggravated team with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they run the ball a little bit more because the run game has actually been a high point for them, especially with the yards per carry. Now, this line also resembles a couple of games to me when you're looking at the New York Jets. This resembles a line when they had to play Cincinnati. Cincinnati was off a tough loss, and the line was 6.5, -7 for the Bengals. Bengals beat them 27-12. Now you look at the game in week 1. You had the Jets and the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens were playing at home in week 1. They were 6.5, 7-point favorite in that spot as well. And Baltimore beat them 24-9. So it's kind of one of those spots that, with the Jets, with a short line, like I'm talking like +3, +4, you seemed like they show up and excel in those type of spots. But when you see the line creeping up to -7, -7.5 in these spots, I think this just screams that Green Bay has a get right game and actually goes and blows out an opponent that probably doesn't deserve to be in the spot that they're in right now. So I like Green Bay here, -7. I actually got a -7 with a little bit of juice. I know it's at -7.5 right now. I'd probably take it up to, 7.5 is a little bit rough for me, but if you can buy it and get a good price on the 7, I like that a little bit better. But I think Green Bay does blow them out by 2 scores here. So give me my number, Green Bay -7 points. All right, now we're going to move into another 1:00 game. We're going to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers are going on the road. They're going to play the Atlanta Falcons. Now, San Francisco, let's look at where they're at right now. Back-to-back wins in dominating fashion. They go in Monday night versus their divisional opponent in the LA Rams, who are absolutely struggling, 24-9. And then they go and they play a Carolina team that is just a complete mess, firing their coach. Absolute in shambles. They have quarterback issues. The team is just a disaster. 37-15. They just smoked them. Now look at Atlanta. Atlanta's off a tough road loss, 21-15. If you actually watch that game, and I think that if you actually turned on ESPN anytime this week, the biggest thing was the roughing the passer call versus Tom Brady. That was extremely questionable and highly debated. And to my opinion, I don't know how you tackle a quarterback if that was roughing the passer, because I think there was some samples of Patrick Mahomes getting the same treatment and not getting the call. So that decided the outcome, because that would have changed the possession. It would have given it back to Atlanta, and they would have had a chance to at least tie the game. Now you look at Atlanta. Actually, no, I'm sorry. They'd have a chance to win the game because they did get a 2-point conversion on the what ended up being the cover. Now Atlanta, I call them the pesky team. What I mean by pesky is that you cannot never get rid of them. I know they're not the greatest team in the world, but my God, they just compete, and will stay close to you to scare you to the point where you're winning a game by less than 7 points. So if you can never fully put them away. 0-point differential overall for them this season, and a +1 differential at home. All their games this season, every single one of them, have been within 7 points or less. Every single one of them. And you see them sitting here at 4.5, 4.5, depending on what books. Now you have Atlanta. They're 5-0 against the spread this season. I know that's kind of a dangerous spot because teams will start to regress eventually, and then they won't start covering spreads as well. But man, this is just a good spot for Atlanta. Actually, look at San Francisco really on their defense, dealing with some key injuries. Nick Bosa is going to be out for the game. Eric Armstead probably not going to be playing in this one either. Nick Bosa, I know, was listed as questionable, but I doubt he's going to play, especially when with the game that's going to be coming up for them in the look ahead, because they have to host KC at home next week. So maybe they give him the day off, or actually the week off for that matter, and rest their front for the big KC game. It's a revenge spot for Atlanta as well. Atlanta got crushed by San Francisco last year, 31-13 on the road in 2021 as 9.5-point dogs. Now they're sitting here at 4.5-point dogs at home. Telltale right there of line variance from year one to year two. I like Atlanta here big time. They're 5-0 against the spread, and they just, no matter what the situation is and the circumstances for this team, they're just showing up and playing and fighting and clawing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they come out of here and surprise a San Francisco team and beat them. I could see that happening. But you know what? I'm getting 4.5 in this spot. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons plus 4.5. And that is going to be a 1.5. I think it's a 1-unit play. Yeah, that's a 1-unit play for me. I'll recap the units after the show. All right. We're going to... I got 6 picks, and we're going to go to pick number 5 here. Now, pick number 5 is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals are going on the road. They're going to go play the New Orleans Saints. Now, let's look at where the Cincinnati Bengals are at. Coming off a primetime Sunday night football loss by a field goal at the end of the game by Justin Tucker, probably the GOAT of all GOATs of kickers. Divisional opponent too, 19-17 in Baltimore, which while they did get the cover, it was a deflating loss. So it was one of those, they lost straight up, did get the cover because they were +3 going into that game. Now, New Orleans is off a home win, comeback win for that matter, against Seattle, 39-32. Off a tough loss in London against the Minnesota Vikings too, missing a field goal at the end to tie the game. And they had lost 3 straight going into that Seattle game. All signs indicate that New Orleans is going to be going with Andy Dalton as the quarterback this week. And quite frankly, I think that is a bonus for anybody that's going to be betting the Saints, because I would rather have him than Jameis Winston. If you actually look at his stats, he has a better completion rate, 69.2% completion rate. He has better yards per attempt, 8.1 yards per attempt, and the QB rating is much higher, like 10 points higher. He's at 98.5 in his starts. He only has one interception this year in 2 starts. So that's also a key thing, especially when you talk about Jameis Winston. He turns the ball over. And I think that's kind of hurt them in a lot of these games this season when they lost, especially in the first 2 losses before the London game. Now you look at the Cincinnati offense; they've just really had some troubles, especially on the road. They only averaged 292 yards of total offense on the road, and I think they played like 4 road games, if I'm not mistaken. And minus 38 net yard average. I'm sorry, they played 3 road games. They played Dallas, the Jets, and the Ravens in those spots. So really a huge drop off for the offense when they go on the road. And then every time I bring up the Bengals, I always bring up the offensive line, defensive line comparison. You have New Orleans with a 7.9% sack rate at home, and you have Cleveland's offensive line still trying to gel, still trying to figure things out. 10.3% sack rate given up to their opponents. Cincinnati's defense on the other side, not a huge pass rushing team, only a 4.2 sack rate this year. So, I mean, if we're looking at Andy Dalton getting pressured or rushed, it's probably not going to happen in this game. But on the other side, you're going to get Joe Burrow on his back more than once, especially playing at home. That defensive line and pass rush can put the pressure on you. I think it's a good spot here, especially with Andy Dalton starting. For some reason, he's just going to be efficient enough. He's going to be a game manager, and he's not going to make the mistakes that Jameis Winston, or even take risks for that matter. And you also got a good running game with Kamara. I think this is going to be one of those good spots to take New Orleans. I actually got him at 3.5 and paid a little bit of juice, not much. I think it was minus 120 on the juice, but I would take him at 3. 3's fine. This is a live dog in my opinion, and they may come out of here, and Cincinnati could be losing the same game twice. If you ever heard that term, I mean it was one of those situations where they covered, and then they just lose by a field goal. That deflates you, and it's a quasi short week for them playing at 1 p.m. when they had to play at 8:20 on Sunday. But I like the 3.5, and that's going to be the play for me. New Orleans plus 3.5 for the Guns. All right, I'm going to give an extra play here because I'm doing this solo today, but make sure that I see 19, 20 of you watching on YouTube. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Say you like my stuff. Say you like the Shark. Say you like the Odds Fellows. Say you like the Dad Bods. Please just hit the thumbs up so we can hit the algorithm and spread this sharp information to everybody and anybody. And we hit what they call the algorithm. And then also, if you haven't subscribed to the Dad Bods YouTube channel, please do, because we give you all types of content, college football, NFL, and we also do the Dad Bods on Wednesdays. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, maybe even hit the notification bell while you're at it. All right, here we go. Miami is no, they're not on the road. They're at home this week, and they're going to be playing the Minnesota Vikings. Now let's look at Miami for a second. Miami off back-to-back losses to Cincinnati and the Jets. But as I said before, outliers kind of played into that. They had to replace their quarterback in both of those games, losing Teddy Bridgewater in the Jets game in the first quarter, having to throw in Skylar Thompson. And then with the Cincinnati, as you know, taking one of the most scariest knocks I've ever seen, especially from a concussion standpoint. So their losses were more predicated towards trying to throw a new quarterback into a situation that, guy probably hadn't had snaps all week with the first team offense. So now you have Skylar Thompson, who's actually got the reps. They've actually prepped for him, even though both quarterbacks have been cleared from concussion protocol in Teddy Bridgewater and Tua. They're going to go with Skylar Thompson today. So the coach having trust in his third backup. This will be his first pro start, but actually when he came in for his first game, not too bad on the stats. 19 of 33, 54, 57.6 completion rate, 166 yards passing, 1 INT. Didn't get any touchdowns in that matter, but I got to, for a rookie getting thrown into a spot middle of the game, I got to give him kudos for those statistics. Now you look at Minnesota. They were coming off 3 straight home wins. Now, I know one of those is a London win, but it's considered a home game for them because they sacrificed it. But you actually look at the closeness of these games. They 28-24 to Detroit, 28-25 to New Orleans, 29-22 to Chicago. This will be their first, what I consider their first true road game since their loss on Monday night in week 2 versus the Philadelphia Eagles 24-7. Now you look at the Minnesota pass defense. Not great at all. You actually break down their statistics by they're ranked 29th yards per attempt, 7.8 yards per attempt they give up to their opponents, and they're ranked 31st in opponent pass completion rate, which they give up 70% pass completion rate to their opponents. So for a rookie quarterback making his first start, he's going to have the nice ease and sensibility knowing he's going to be going against a very soft pass defense, and with the weapons that you have in Jared Waddle and Tyreek Hill, among others, Gesicki, I think this is going to be a good spot for backing Skylar Thompson, the rookie, with no tape on him. Now, look at Minnesota. They're on an 0-4 ATS streak right now in their last 4 games. They're going to get up against a quarterback with no tape, no film, nothing to scout as far as trying to get prepared for him, unless they want to go back and look at Kansas State tapes. They got the weapons, and also the weather is on their side. It's going to be 85 degrees in Miami today. That is good, perfect Miami weather, especially playing at home with that sun beating down on those Minnesota Vikings. They're used to the cold. They ain't going to be ready for this one. The line is short for a reason, especially with a rookie quarterback starting against a team that's kind of been playing really good football right now. Granted, they haven't covered the spread, but they've been winning games. I like Miami in this spot. Get right after getting blown out by a divisional opponent, and you had an extra, you had a week to prepare with your rookie quarterback. So let's go with Miami plus the 3 as a 1-unit play. So those are my 6 picks. I want to go through the board, just go through some of the stuff that I'm looking at right now. Games that didn't really, I didn't want to make official, but I did look at them nonetheless. Now you have the Patriots versus the Browns today. So if you're actually looking at that game right now, Browns have just been stepping on their own dicks week to week. They did it against the Jets, and then did it last week at home in the weirdest fashion. Drive down, and you're throwing a pass in double coverage. I don't know why you're throwing a pass at the 2-yard line for that matter. You get the ball back and do really nothing with it, and you force your kicker to make a long field goal, and he just shanks it big time. So they had like back-to-back deflating losses in that matter. Now look at the Patriots. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be until game time. So I don't know, is it going to be Mac Jones, or is it going to be Bailey Zappi, the pride of Western Kentucky? I think, in my personal opinion, I don't know why you're trying to rush Mac Jones back when your quarterback has showed what he can do last week when they won 29-0 versus the Detroit Lions. But I'm not the coach here. Bill Belichick is, so they're going to make a decision game time. And maybe it's just a psychological ploy on Bill Belichick's part to kind of get people thinking of a different quarterback and trying to set up the preparation for maybe Mac Jones, and then they'll just throw Bailey Zappi in there in the mix, and they'll have a little bit of an advantage there. But this is a weird line. It's sitting at -2.5, -3, depending on the books there for the Cleveland Browns. I don't know which way it's going to be going. You try to back the Browns week to week. They are a bye team right now, but after seeing the coaching decisions, the play decisions in the past couple of weeks, I can't back the Browns right now. I'm just going to watch this one as a fan, and hopefully the Patriots pull out the W. Jaguars versus Colts. This is an interesting one because this is the second time these two teams have met, and it seems a little bit early in the season for these two teams to go up against each other. As you know, the Jaguars crushed the Colts at home. I mean, just beat them senseless. Nobody saw it coming. They said, oh God, look, the Jaguars are back. This is one of those spots I just don't trust the Indianapolis Colts. It looks like the line was like 2.5, 3 all week. It's dropped down to 1.5, maybe -1 at most books, which leads me to believe that the sharp money is starting to hit on the Jags. Jags, I think, are coming off a loss to the Eagles last week. That is... No, I'm sorry. They've come back-to-back losses. They lost to the Texans and they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, losing to them on the road, that's fine. But when you lose to your divisional opponent at home 13-6, that's embarrassing, especially when you're dealing with the Texans, who are not a very good team. So there may be a sense of get right in this spot. I know they've already beat the Indianapolis Colts. So the argument with the Colts would be revenge spot for the Colts. I think both teams are kind of sitting in the same kind of position. So the line's short for a reason. We may have a rock fight in this spot. I see Kurt saying losing like that so many times must do something to the Browns mentally. I agree. That's why it's kind of like, I don't know why they're favored. So at some point, the NFL, you got to understand, these are pro athletes. These aren't college athletes. These guys have a different sort of mentality going into games week to week. They're a little bit set up better with it. I don't know if there's any animosity in the locker room with the coaches that could also affect your play as well. I just think this is one of those games you just watch, and you may have one of those situations that comes down to one possession, who has the ball last, and I just see if that does happen, the Browns are the team I would bet on to screw it up. Going back to the Jags game. Look, they've lost two straight. This team is not a bad team. They're very opportunistic. They're turnover hungry, and they kind of use that as their motivation, taken into their offense. But they're starting to become a little bit wishy-washy to me. They're sitting 2-3, and they're going in to play a divisional opponent that they beat the piss out of in week 2, 24-0. So I'm going to pass on this one completely. That is just going to a watch game. I think there's arguments on both sides, whatever side that you take. Ravens and Giants, kind of an interesting one here. So you have the Ravens sitting here at -5.5, and I almost wanted to just take the Ravens on this one, but they had a really high end Sunday Night Football primetime win, 19-17. If they would have lost that game, I think it would be an even bigger play on the Ravens. Ravens are sitting here on the road, playing the Giants. They're -5.5. Sitting in this spot. Now the Giants are coming off a big win themselves. They go over to London and they beat up on the Green Bay Packers. Now they're coming home. I don't know what their mindset is after that game. I know Dayball's got those boys cooking. They're sitting 4-1 right now, 2-1 at home. Granted, some of the competition they've played is a little bit lackluster. Some of their wins are a little bit lackluster, but getting a big win over the Packers kind of should motivate this team a little bit. But actually, I lean the Ravens in this spot. I think the Ravens are just kind of due to heat up. And then I always expect the Giants to kind of just drop off the map eventually. And maybe this is where the start begins, but we'll wait and see. I don't have an official on that play, but if I were to take a side, I'd probably take the Baltimore Ravens on the road -5.5. Bucks, Steelers. I really don't have any opinion on this one. The line's sitting at 9.5. I think if it was a play on the Steelers, it would be closer to a possession, maybe a -7, -6.5, maybe -7.5. We got it at -9.5 here. Total's 46. I don't know where the Steelers are. Pickett is just a progression waiting to happen. I don't know if he's just going against teams just above his pay grade, but he's going to be facing a Bucs team that's going to really challenge him, especially with their defense. Offensively for the Bucs, I don't know what's up with them either. Tom Brady, I know the wide receiver corps has been banged up all through the season. Getting any sort of dynamic with his receivers and actually moving the ball up and down the field, and they're just lax right now. And I don't know why. Maybe he's missing a guy that he used to, maybe he's missing Gronk. Maybe he's missing, Antonio Brown, even though he's a complete nut job right now. Who knows? I just don't know what the future of the Bucs are right now. And they're getting these heavy, heavy lines, and they're just not covering them. I mean, we saw it last week, and we thought that, if you were thinking of that game and you see that line, I think it was -10 at one point versus the Falcons, you would have thought that the Tampa Bay Bucks were going to just blow the doors off the Falcons, and they didn't. So this game, you have a Pittsburgh team that just got smoked by the Bills. They only scored 3 points when you thought like Pickett had some sort of pace and offensive progression in the previous game versus the Jets. It just showed something to me. I don't know where this team is at. They're week to week. I think Tomlin gets them ready for this one. I mean, losing 38. I mean, Joe Billings said it best. You could say that for Tomlin. I don't see Tomlin losing back-to-back bad games like this, but I need to see a little bit more from Kenny Pickett and the offense for me to start backing the Steelers again. And who knows with Tampa right now. But this is just not a game that I'm interested in. Panthers, Rams. I mean, come on. I don't know. You got two teams that are just, looking at each other and doing this. The Rams are just completely soft, completely flat, completely off as a team right now. And then you have the Panthers. I don't even know who the quarterback. They need a quarterback change, that's for sure. And I think they're getting one today. But it is not a team that both sides of this is not at any point, any way, shape, or form I want to back them. You see them sitting here at -10. Total is 41.5. And I don't know. I don't know. Every time you think it's a good Rams spot, the Rams just lay an egg like they did last week. I mean, the perfect Rams spot last week versus Dallas, and Dallas just smoked them. So, it's not a game I'm willing to back. I think you got two teams trying to figure itself out. I do think the Rams will probably win the game. I don't know if they're going to win by 2 scores. Now we go Arizona, Seattle. Seattle coming off a tough loss, 39-32 last week. Now they're coming home. They're facing a Arizona Cardinals team that played a Eagles team, a really good Eagles team, down to the wire, only losing by 3. They seem like the team that's a little bit more hungry for the wins versus the Seattle side. Seattle's defense can't really stop anybody for that matter. Playing some really high-scoring games. Total on this one's 50.5. If I have a lean on this one, it'd probably the over. Both teams like to run at a high pace. They give up a lot of scores. And then I'm just thinking of the Cardinal score from last week, 20-17, 37 points. Now you're seeing them at 50.5. Playing on the road, 2.5 point favorite. This kind of screams lean the over, or even take the over for that matter. You can see a real high scoring boat race in this one that could come down to the last possession. Well, that's going to do it for the games. Monday night, I'll have a pick for that one as well, but I'm not going to have it until, a few hours before kickoff. If you got any questions or anything like that, please send them to me. Please DM to me. I want to thank everybody in the chat that was talking it up as I was going along. Had to go solo today, but no worries. We will be back full strength next week. So till then, also please join me in the Shark Friday, 9 p.m. for the Shark and the Gun Show. And also we will be here every time between 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Circa Million Show. Thanks for joining. Good luck with your bets. And as always, let's keep dancing.